to move on to the beginning of the 43rd cycle. And we dive in that just like the Yidden, who had 42 journeys in the desert, the Membeis Masois, and from there, they entered the land of Eretz Yisrael. We should also be zeicha that with the beginning of this 43rd Masa, we finished 42, we should be zeicha that it goes straight into Eretz HaKodesh. And to begin this 43rd cycle, we're going to call up someone who exemplifies what it means dedication to learning Rambam. I believe the Shmua is, Azay Zakman, that he hasn't missed one day since it started in Tavshin Mem Dalid in 1984. So we're going to call up Rabbi Yaakov Rapp to begin the next Seder of Limud HaRambam. And I also want to mention that it's Rabbi Yankel's mother's yahrzeit today. And her neshama should have an aliyah, and she should be a gute better. Rabbi Yankel.
Gute Woche. You know, over the years, I've had the schus to be able to be involved in a number of different Siyum HaRambam. But tonight is particularly close to my heart for a number of reasons. First of all, it's Melava Malka, which is always close to my heart. My Rav, my Mashpia, Reb Arel Sarabransky, Elva Sholem, told me that Reb always washed from Melava Malka, he always washed from Melava Malka, and I always washed from Melava Malka. So Melava Malka is a very special time in itself. Over and above that, it's Beis Iyar, the Reb Maharash's Yom Haledes, which is a very, very phenomenal day. The whole concept, the whole inyan of L'Hatchil HaRibah, which has been emphasized countless times and in many, many amazing ways by the Rebbe. And it happens to be also the yahrzeit of my beloved mother, Maras Chava Gittel, Bas Ari Leib, Alei Ashole. And she exemplified this whole idea of L'Hatchil HaRibah from a very early age. She was a survivor, together with my grandmother. They both survived from Auschwitz, and they did it. The stories, I'm not going to go into it too much, but the stories were, you know, the way was in an oifen of L'Hatchil HaRibah. She came out of there, the hellhole of Auschwitz, the gas chambers, the terror, unimaginable things that went on over there. And she developed and she didn't survive, she thrived, because she came out of there and she developed a life of positivity and a life of optimism, and she had a life of dealing with, she had a love for all humanity, and she had a love for her friends and her family, and she was full of good deeds. And that was also an oifen of L'Hatchil HaRibah. And she left the world on L'Hatchil HaRibah, on Beis Iyar, on Erev Shabbos Kodesh, and Beis Iyar, she left the world also. So I just want to say, before we go on further, I just want to say that her neshama should have an aliyah. She should be a good and better for all of us here, for Klal Yisrael, for Eretz Yisrael, for the whole world. And should be able to be poiled, that we should have the Gula Amitva Shlema, Bekarev Mamish, Bimhera B'Yamein, Bekarev Mamish, in an oifen of L'Hatchil HaRibah, L'Chaim. The Baal Shem Tov says, we'll have to mention Motzei Shabbos, but the Baal Shem Tov says there's no such thing as coincidence. Coincidence is an 11-letter name of Hashem. Everything is B'Hashgacha Pratis. And when the Siyum HaRambam, and I don't recall, there may have been a few, but I don't think there's been too many Siyum HaRambams that are mamish bizmanoi, at the actual time of the completion. That's when it is bizmanoi. I don't think there's been too many of those. And so when the Siyum HaRambam comes out bizmanoi, and it also comes out on the time of L'Hatchil HaRibah, The Hashgacha Pratis from that, I mean, all Hashgacha Pratis is awesome, but the way that all these things coincide is really something spectacular. And there's a lot to be understood from that, because there's a very deep relationship between learning the Rambam and the whole concept of Hatchila Riba. Just to mention, the Rebbe emphasized it. The whole idea of Hatchila Riba means that you are going beyond, and every human being has this, the ability to transcend obstacles. People have troubles in their life, people have difficulties, and people have a power to transcend those difficulties. If they're in a place where they can't use their skills, their talents, and their abilities to overcome various kinds of obstacles and problems, then they always tap into a higher nature, higher power. That's something that's there for humanity. For the Jewish people, for a Yid, we have a chelik al-kamamash, a godly soul. We have something that is even higher than that. So we don't just transcend, but we have a capacity to transcend our transcendent. This is something that Rebbe speaks about. And this is something which, when we say the Hatchila Riba, this implies, you see, we could think, okay, great, Hatchila Riba, right? Tomorrow is a new cycle. I'm going to jump in Hatchila Riba. You know, somebody who does one perek will decide he's going to do 3 prokim, which incidentally, that's what the Rebbe wanted. The Rebbe made it very clear, it's a 3 prokim expedition. But the average is 1 perek. If you're doing 1 perek, ready for, anyway, I don't want to talk about that, but 3 prokim is the name of the game. And for women and for children, he said, say from mitzvahs, you're not able to. It doesn't mean you should feel guilty about it. If you're doing 1 perek, it's also good. But if you're doing 1 perek, it should be almanas, that you're going to do 3 prokim at some stage, sooner the better. But if you're going to jump into base ER with Hatchila Riba, it's very good. You can learn 3 prokim now. I'm actually going to learn 1 halacha in more detail, as the Rebbe asked us to. Or I can take on various levels on this where I can progress more and more. I'm 1 perek 3, sefer mitzvahs to 1, whatever it is. But that's very nice. But you've jumped in Hatchila Riba, but are you going to keep it up? Are you going to keep it up? We all know. No, we're probably not going to keep it up. Very, very few people keep it up. I mean, there's a lot of people do it. I'm not criticizing, but it's very easy to take a superficial view of Hatchila Riba. There's a much deeper view of Hatchila Riba. And that deeper view of Hatchila Riba is that if you are committed to doing Rambam, and it's as I had once, I had a Farbrengen once in my house. Rabbi Baruch Leshes was Farbrengen in my house at the time, many years ago. And he said, it's very simple with Rambam. He said, you just make a hachlota. I don't have permission to go to bed until I've done my Rambam and Machitas. Sounds great. It sounds very good. But this was his formula. This was what he was saying. That attitude brings Hatchila Riba to a whole different dimension. That means that your whole day, you've committed yourself to learning your whole day, because it's going to happen no matter what. I'm not going to bed until I do it. The whole day becomes Hatchila Riba, which is exactly what the Rebbe wants. The Rebbe didn't want us to just do Hatchila Riba once in a while. The Hatchila means from the beginning, from the outset, the attitude is that we are going to transcend all obstacles. That's the power of the Yiddish Neshama. The Rebbe wanted us to be able to do that continuously, and it's a very big, tall order. He asked us, how can I, and not just that, but the Rebbe said each day of a Sphira we go Hatchila Riba, relatively very hard things to be able to achieve, but the Rebbe tells us we should do it, therefore we have the power to it, we have the ability to do it. There's no question about that. So, but how do we do it? That's the question. So if we have it engraved in our soul, we have it engraved that it's going to be done, then the whole day becomes an adventure. How am I going to get it done? That's the question. How am I going to get this done? I have to plan my day. I have to think of the whole day. I'm working on that level. You know, when Rabbi Mendel Zirkin was here the other day, he said, you don't do Rambam, you don't do Chitas. You learn Rambam and you learn Chitas. I like that word very much. But it still didn't grab me completely, because if you're going to operate with Hatchila Riba, it's not just that you have to learn it, but you certainly do have to learn it, but you have to live it. You have to live Rambam, not just learn it. You have to live it. And living it means that I'm thinking about it the whole time. That's where my preoccupation is, how am I going to do it. Incidentally, when that's the case, like with everything in Hatchila Riba, all the shtusim and all the things that I think are important, which I have to get done, they get done. They get done because you get siyata d'shmaya. You are connected to the Eibishter, and you get a siyata d'shmaya, which helps you to be able to achieve those things. Last week, as usual, it was on a Thursday. It's after Mincha, and I'm about to sit down to my to a shir. We have a Shulchan Aruch shir with Rabbi Shir Hecht every day, a beautiful shir. And I was going to sit down to the shir, and before I sat down, one of my friends, an acquaintance of mine, came up to me and asked me, he's a member of the shir, he sits down and asked me, are you doing one perek a day? And I said to him, I'm actually doing 3 prokim a day, and I've been doing it since inception. The guy, I don't want any cheering, sorry, I'll tell you why in a minute, no cheering. The guy rolled his eyes and he said to me, impossible. So I didn't want to traumatize him anymore, I'm going to traumatize him tonight. But not only is it a matter of doing 3 prokim, the point is to do 3 prokim every single day without fail, and bismanoi at the time. Now the Hashgacha Pratis of tonight is also this bismanoi. It's coming out that Hatchil HaRibba turns out to be here bismanoi at the time. So I just want to share with you a few experiences that I had with regard to this idea, this Hatchil HaRibba, living this Hatchil HaRibba. I know time is precious, but it's Motzei Shabbos, Lava Malka, and chill out, relax. Okay, so I'm sitting in this is 1984, Tafshin Mem Dalit, and I'm in my dental surgery, and I'm working, we're just finishing up on one of my patients, and a yeshiva bocher, a shliach from yeshiva bocher calls up my receptionist. This is normal. This was a normal procedure in those days. Calls up my receptionist. My receptionist comes up to me and just says to me out there, she says, hook up in 30 minutes. You better, I've rearranged your afternoon, you better get going. So, of course, I had to stop my patient, and this is what I used to do. I used to drive over to Yeshiva, and I used to hear the Rebbe live, speaking live, and that particular Farbrengen, and I would go in by the way, I couldn't understand a word of Yiddish. I couldn't even read Lashon Kodesh at all. I couldn't, not just read it, I couldn't understand it at all. So this was my matzav. I'm coming in, I'm hearing the Rebbe. I had guys in Yeshiva Center standing there and translating it for me, giving me some sort of a understanding of what we're talking about, what the Rebbe is talking about. And this particular time was different to all the others, because when I heard what he said, I was almost dancing with joy. Why was I dancing with joy? It started telling me the Rebbe just introduced that you have to start learning 3 chapters of Rambam every day. Why would I dance for joy for such a thing? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when I first came into the yeshiva, I was learning a lot of Chassidus. I was very attracted to what was going on. But I couldn't get anyone to learn anything with me in Nigla. I would go jump to this year, that year. I was completely disoriented and disassociated. I remember I used to walk in there, and I would see the Rosh Kollel at that time was Reb Shir Hecht. He'd be sitting in the Kollel. There would be packed from Mizrahi, from Katanga, from Adas, people, all people, B'nai Torah, people who know how to learn, are sitting around, and he is shooting and firing, and he's on fire, and the whole thing. I'm looking, such enthusiasm. I couldn't take my eyes off the whole scene there. I'm looking at it, and this is constant. I kept seeing this. He's speaking Yiddish, he's speaking Lashon Kodesh, he's speaking English. I could not understand a word. You've got to understand that I'm a graduate from university, I'm a scientist, and I'm used to understanding things. So the Agmas Nefesh that I had when I used to watch such things that I don't know what's going on was gefährlich, was terrible for me. So when the Rebbe finally said, here's a structure that you're going to learn, Kol Torah Kula, in 1 year, I was ecstatic. It was an ecstasy for me. I made a hachlata straight away. I'm doing it. It was also a hachlata. The Eibush had mercy on me, and he made it in such a way that I was, that year, straight after that hachlata, I was Zachir B'Goyrel, and I was able to go to the Rebbe. This is straight after Achron Shel Pesach, so I'm heading to the Rebbe. It was Sfira, I couldn't go the normal way, I had to go around through Eretz Yisrael. Naturally, I stopped off by the Rambam's cave in Eretz Yisrael and did my 3 prokim on the day. By the way, there was no translation in those days. There was 2 books by Feldheim. One was called Sefer, the Book of Adoration, Sefer Ava, the Book of Sefer Amada, the Book of Knowledge. That was the only translation that existed. I didn't even know about Yale University, but there was no. We weren't blessed then to have Rabbi Tauger, who did the greatest, such an unbelievable job to translate the Rambam, most beautiful, beautiful work, a work of genius, a work of art that he produced, and that's on Chabad.org. It's available for everybody. We didn't have such a thing at that time. I remember I'd be going around, I went to one guy, I said to him in the kollel, please learn with me Gemara. He looked at me and he said, this was before Art Scroll. He looked at me and said, Gemara? You're not shaykh to Gemara, it's not for you. You got to know things before you can learn Gemara. This was in the early days, I'm saying. This was in the early days. You didn't know. I don't know if he wasn't, anyway, whatever. You got to know things before you can learn Gemara. So forget it. Go back and learn Chassidus. Learning Chassidus I could learn. There's plenty of English translations, people learning it. I loved it. It was beautiful. But there was no niggle, there was no proper. Anyway. I'm on my way to Goel, I'm on my way to the Rebbe. I'm coming there and I'm arrived for Shavuos. I come in for Shavuos, and again, this is another thing which is of great interest, talking about the Rebbe. Just by the way, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. I'm talking. Okay, we'll do. Okay, so I'm. Anyway, I got a message here. A couple of minutes left. So anyway, I'm by the Rebbe, and so I come in there. And a lot of things, but I'll tell you one thing. The Rebbe was talking non-stop, Rambam. There's non-stop Rambam. The Rebbe was cocking, and the Rebbe cocked right through. But this was an extremely a powerful experience. In any case, I come in there, and it's the Shabbos after Shavuos. And this is an interesting situation that happened there, and it indicates something very interesting. The Rebbe, Shabbos after Shavuos, Shachris just finishes, and I'm standing between the Bima and the Rebbe. I'm standing in the region there downstairs at 770. The Rebbe's facing his stender, and all of a sudden Shachris finishes. This is the Shabbos. And by the way, just to give you a bit of background on that also, Shavuos, all the big shots came in. This was all the Rabbonim, all the you don't see. It's a different vibe. I mean, I've been many times to the Rebbe for Tishrei. There's nothing like Shavuos. Shavuos is the Rebbe's in a simchadik move. There's a human, there's a feeling, there's an atmosphere that's unbelievable. Shavuos is very different. If you've never been by the Rebbe Shavuos, it's something you experience. All the big shots are there, all the Rabbonim, all the Shluchim from the whole world, they're standing, they're all there. We're all davening Shachris, and I'm, there, Greenhorn standing in the middle of the world, taking all this in. Suddenly, I think it was Rabbi Blasovsky, who was the Gabbai, he taps on the bima, and he makes an announcement. 1 o'clock, there'll be a Farbrengen, and of course, everyone's expecting Farbrengen. But then suddenly, I look at his face while he's saying it, and I can see he goes pale. I look at his face, he goes pale. I immediately turn around and look at the Rebbe, and I see the Rebbe doing this. He's standing by the bima like this, turns around, he's going like this to him, like this. Who told you there's a Farbrengen? Where did you get the idea to make a Farbrengen? That's what he was saying with his hand. Straight away he patched on the bima again. There's no Farbrengen today. This was and the uproar you should hear, the murmuring and the faces on the people. No Farbrengen. All the shluchim, all the rabbi, everyone's expecting. There's no Farbrengen. This is Shabbos after Shavuos. This is Shabbos after Shavuos. Anyway, I'm standing there, I'm perplexed like everybody else. What happened? Why is no Farbrengen? We're expecting a Farbrengen. Everyone thinks it's going to be There's no Farbrengen. 3 hours later, I found out. I don't know if I found out, because I'm not pretending to understand what is in the Rebbe's mind or what the Rebbe was thinking when he made no Farbrengen, but I'm going through purely on circumstantial evidence. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty certain that this is the case. This was an indication of the Rebbe's love of us and the love of the Rambam. Why? I sat down, I was running around, look, there was no one to learn with. I had to chap, Yossi Chazan here, this one here, I'm gathering people every day. If you knew the Mesilas, I'm saying it is Mesilas, what I had to go through to learn 3 Prokim, to get people to learn with me 3 Prokim was unbelievable. But in any case, I got a boy, a bocher, one of the Chavrei HaKollel, I think it was Yitzhak Prus, I was learning with him, Rabbi Shmuel, I used to learn with him, he was there at the time of the Kollel as well. I sat down with him, we started to learn. That Shabbos, it was Hilchos Shabbos for the first time ever. Perek Yudalid, Perek Tezvav, and Perek Tezayin, or maybe it was Yud Zayin. Anyway, whatever they were, those halachas from the Rambam, without Tauga, without anything, those halachas were really tough. Today it's a breeze. You could do it in 20 minutes or whatever, if you've done it for me, and if you've got all the facilities with the diagrams. We had nothing at that time. We're sitting there learning. So I sat down with this rabbi, and we're learning the Hilchos Rambam. Halacha 1, there's 66 halachas to get through that Shabbos. Halacha 1, beautiful, he's going through it. I look at the clock, 20 minutes. Halacha 2, beautiful, look at it, 30 minutes. Halacha 3, you have to go? Huh? I can't hear. I'm going to lose. If I've lost the Olam, I'll go. Yeah? Anyway, it was the Rebbe's love for us, because the Rebbe knew that if he farbrangs for 1 hour or 2 hours, not one person in that place is going to get through the Rambam that Shabbos. It's impossible. It was impossible. It was a huge thing. I didn't get to bed till 3 a.m. after that Rambam at the first time around. It was tough. It was very difficult going. I had to come back after Mesiras Nefesh. I just have to mention two or three little things, and I'm finishing up. It was a big Mesiras Nefesh where I had to come back to cross the date. I had to cross the date line. And I didn't know what I'm going to do. That's 3 Brokim Rambam, because I was rushing to get to the plain black. I went to Rabbi Shmuel, he was there at the time, and I said to Rabbi Shmuel, I don't know what I'm going to do. Here's my tape recorder. Can you help me? Rabbi Shmuel sat down, and he taped for me 9 Prokim of Rambam, because I'm going to lose a day, plus getting on the plane and getting off. 9 Prokim of Rambam he taped for me with English translation that enabled me to be able to go through and do it. I came back, and a few times, once I missed the shir. I remember I missed the shir and I was in a panic. So Label Ruskin was a Chavrei Kol. He wasn't sheikhed yet then. So he was just living in an apartment in Hotham Street. 11:30 at night, 11:45. I had no choice. I was friendly with him. I went onto his house. I'm banging on his door. He opens the door. I think he's in either his pajamas or not, but I certainly wasn't wide awake. And I said to him, Label, I have to learn 3 Prokim Rambam. I missed the shir. I got to learn with you. He took me inside, and he learned the 3 Prokim Rambam with me 12 midnight. Anyway, I could go on and on, because there are countless stories. I'm going a bit over time, but in any case, I'm sorry. Just one more little thing. The women. No more? Okay, I'm in trouble. All right.
Just do the Siyum.
I'll do the Siyum.
And then we'll move on. I'm sorry.
Next time we'll share some more stories. Okay, we're going to make the Haskalah for the 43rd cycle of the Rambam. So I'll just, for me, I can just simply say, Baruch Shechiyanu v'kimanu v'kiyanu l'zman hazeh. For me, it's a very big thing. It's a great thing to continue in this way. And the first halacha is as follows. Yesod ha-Yesodis, this Perek Rishon. Hilchos Yesodei ha-Torah. Yesod ha-Yesodis v'amud ha-Chochmos. Leida sheyesham motzu rishon. Hu mamtzi kol nimtza. V'kol ha-nimtzoim m'shamayim v'aretz u'mash b'neihem. Lo nimtzu ele ma'amitas hi-motzoi. Now, just before I go, this is the most unbelievable halacha that you can ever dream of, because this halacha is the yesod of all the Rebbe's Maimorim, and I'm telling you, all the Rebbe's Maimorim. The Atzis was, this is the yesod of the Alter Rebbe, this is the yesod of the whole Seder Chassidus, one halacha. And I haven't seen anywhere in the Rambam that you'd see a Rosh Tevis. The first 4 in his works, maybe there is, but I haven't seen it. Yesod ha-Yesod is Yud Kei Vav Kei, is Hashem's name, and it's telling us a foundational thing. This halacha has got so much in it. It talks about Yesh Ma'ayin, this halacha has got, but I haven't got time. I wanted to expound on it, and it's gewaldig, but unfortunately I can't, because there's no more time. So, yashkoyach, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Rapp. And the truth is that, these are real life experiences, and maybe afterwards there's time to farbring. I do want to just say about 1 Perek Rambam that although, of course, l'chatchila Ariba, everyone should try to learn 3, when they stopped making a shturim about 1 Perek and really were focusing on 3, the Rebbe was not very happy, and the Rebbe encouraged strongly that they should make a big campaign for 1 Perek as well. And so we have to, and the Rebbe said that if you only have the time to learn 1 Perek, and that's the time you have, it's considered like when your 1 Perek is the same as 3. So obviously, yes, it's ideal to try to learn 3, but at the same time, in no way is 1 Perek not 100% part of the mitzvah of Rambam.